Hey everybody, thank you for joining. Mike Anastasiades, Solutions Director with HIKE2. HIKE2 Advisory Services and Solutions, serving many different verticals. So public sector, you just heard Brett from the state of Montana, he might still be here. Professional service companies, high-tech companies, and certainly legal, law firms, corporate legal. We're thrilled you all here with us today to talk innovation, AI, disruptions, and we've got two fabulous panelists up here. Before I pass this over to our team here to do introductions of themselves, just a quick, I guess maybe a reminder or a housekeeping item. This is, meant to be sort of an intimate gathering. If you have questions, shout them out. I have several questions, and Claudio, I did add a couple of questions that you added here as well, so we'll ask those. But this is really meant to be more informative and hearing from our panelists. So with that, let me pass this over to Janeen for her introduction.
Oh, great. Hello, my name is Janeen Marquardt. Thank you guys for coming, and thanks for having us HIKE2. We really appreciate it. I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for well over 20 years at this point, but mostly working as a consultant, hands-on in just the last 15, and high tech before that. Here in the Bay Area, so local. This is my backyard, and I'm like, everybody go home. Just kidding. Okay. Yeah, so this is exciting, and I think the things that we're talking about today are very exciting. So.
Yep. I'm Claudio Moraes. Work for Salesforce. Been there for almost 10 years now. Right now, I lead the AI enablement for partners. Work in alliances. Been in the AI space since people start to come up with star schemas and attributes and measures and data warehouses and prediction models, so kind of have a history there. Happy to be here. Thank you for coming. Happy to talk with you, and thank you for the opportunity.
All right, excellent. Well, we'll kick it off with sort of a simple question. We'll start with you, Janeen, and go to you, Claudio, if it's okay. It's like a theme I'm hearing this week, but it's sort of a wide range of feelings when it comes to artificial intelligence. Some people are really excited, some people are really nervous. Where would you say, Janeen, you are on that spectrum, and maybe why are you there?
I'm probably more excited than nervous, aside from some of those other questions where I lean into the nervous area, which we'll get to, but in general, I've been enjoying it. I'm enjoying where things are going. I've always been kind of on the bleeding edge of tech and really enjoy learning new things, and I love to see what's possible. And so I think that's pretty exciting. I mean, I get more nervous about bad actors out there so not the AI itself, but its potential uses that may not be in the best interest of everybody involved. So that's the slight bit of nervousness.
What about you, Claudio?
I'm on it's same, not different, but actually I'm very excited, to be honest with you. I try to look at the positive sides of things. Tech and knowledge always have something that you needed to be careful with, all new technologies actually. But I look for all the possible things that we can do with the AI and how we can improve people's life and how can we make things better, and that excites me, not only on the business side of things, but on the life of people. Like coming here, we took the Waymo. Mm-hmm. So that's fantastic. I was telling him, right? So, man, this is something totally cool. So I see all the good things out of it.
That's great. Positivity is important. Let's talk Agentforce. We'll go to you, Claudio, if it's okay. The big announcement, of course, is Agentforce. Maybe tell the audience, how will this, I guess, help customers, companies really sort of better service their customers?
Yeah, so the way I see it, I'll put it in a simple way actually, is we are getting into the digital employee, right?
Digital employee.
Exactly, right. So they're going to be able to do things by themselves. They're going to have roles. They're going to have jobs to do. They're going to perform actions. And at a business level, right, so you can have an HR digital employee, you can have a service, a sales, and that is Agentforce, it's autonomous agents, right? So that's where we are going to. But then you transform that from a business to a personal life. You're gonna have yours as well. You're gonna have your private assistant doing things for you. So that is just the evolution of AI.
How can, I'll ask maybe you this question, then you, Janeen, about Agentforce. How can companies start to get ready, I guess, for Agentforce and sort of how to best utilize it? And are there any practices they should be putting into place today to, I don't know, to really start to consider this?
That's a long answer. I'll try to make it short. For you to be prepared, you needed to prepare your people.
Yeah.
So in any new technology and the transformation, this is a transformation, people is the key element of the transformation. Without preparing people, you're not gonna get your process, your adoption, you're not gonna be successful, right? So people, it's a key element of it.
Janeen, what do you think? How can I know you work with a ton of Salesforce customers, how can a current Salesforce customer today get ready to really start utilizing Agentforce?
Yeah, well, I think there's a couple of levels to that, and of course it depends on who you are and where you kind of live here in the ecosystem. First, I'll speak from like a consultant's perspective. Salesforce is doing some amazing things to help skill us up fast. They are making exams free. You might have to help me on which one's AI specialist, AI associate,
yeah,
data
exactly.
cloud also?
No,
just
AI.
okay. The AI exams are going to be free through December?
Through December, starting today.
Wow.
Today.
Oh, goodness.
Exactly.
Breaking news. Is that breaking news?
Breaking news this
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah, you-
All right.
yeah.
Yes. Awesome.
Yeah. So
You heard it here first.
Yeah, so that's one thing. So I mean, I definitely encourage folks who kind of are hands-on, whether you work for an internal company or you're a consultant, definitely take the test. I mean, get the trailhead,
Yes.
do the work, understand the concepts, because look, I mean, it's not an easy exam. I just took it yesterday, but you've got to know what you're doing there. Otherwise, you're really just like taking it for no reason.
Exactly.
So definitely skill up on it internally. From a company's perspective, think about those processes that you do regularly that maybe you find a little on the tedious side for now, and you're going to start small. What do you think would be great if you had a personal assistant that you could hand it off to with minimal instruction? You know, when you think about that in a human form, you're like, how much instruction do I need to give you to take care of this task? The less right now is better. Those are easiest to hand off. And then when you're relieved of those small tasks, you can find that next level of, this is nothing, and start to document those. Make yourself a list. What are the things that we think would be great if we could hand off to our virtual agent? And you'll start to find those use cases probably pile up pretty fast.
I'll maybe just shift a little bit away from AI, more towards sort of broader innovation for you, Janeen. What do you see as the biggest challenge you see when it comes to adopting innovation within companies? Again, not just straight AI, but innovation.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's always change. I mean, so you can't just plop it in there and say, okay, everybody have a good day. I mean, you really do have to manage that change, communicate about the change, educate people, and you're going to have people on all areas of that spectrum, from very excited and ready to use whatever you put in front of them, all the way down to no way in hell I'm ever letting an agent, near my desktop kind of thing. And so you've got to start to mitigate against that and educate people, because if you use it properly, it is a good thing. I mean, any innovation, I think, is a good thing. Even if we innovate our way out of something, then we go, nope, now it's not a good thing. Time to move on. It's education. So I think teaching people and communicating and making sure you've got good change management in place is the key to ever making this work in anything.
Yeah.
You as a Salesforce employee, Claudio, trust, number one value. How is Salesforce really staying at the forefront of all this, staying at the forefront of AI advancements and innovation while continuing to keep trust as their number one value?
Yeah, so that's a very, very good question, right? So when you look at a Salesforce history, everything we do, trust is our number one value in it. So just a sum of history, every product we develop, it needs to have that consideration of trust in it. So any technology that you see out there from Salesforce, it has secured, implemented, it thinks about the data that you're going to manipulate, it thinks about the information you are sharing, with who you are sharing, how you monitor, how you keep track of it. And that with the AI or Agentforce is no difference, right? We have the trust layer, and that the trust layer is the main concept of the trust in the AI or Agentforce space, where you needed to understand that if you share PII information, what PII information, is that masked, is that not masked, can be masked, cannot be masked, should be shared, should not be shared. When you talk to LLMs, what you send and what do you receive as a response? Can you track it? Can you track if the response that you are getting actually has no hallucination? Can you track if the response you are getting is actually helpful or not? So all those elements build trust with the user, because they know that they can use Agentforce and that they can trust that the response they get is the best one, and that the data they share with LLMs or any external party is not going to be used for training, is not going to be shared with anyone else, or even when a business think about, okay, let me deploy AI to all my users. So there is a concern of, can users access data that I put in my secure model that they should not see it? So if you go out to any public LLM, you needed to implement all that logic in it, because there is no concept of secure for a business. Where in Salesforce, that is all included in the trust layer and in the AI framework. If you ask something and your ask has information for object or field that you should not see it, it's not going to be included in yours. But if I ask the same question and I have access to that information and it is important to ground in my request, it's going to be included in mine. So that is just a trust.
Janeen, you heard Claudio talk a little bit about, of course, trust, but also maybe a minute or two ago you talked about hallucinations, and there's still hesitancy, right? So if I'm part of a company that's hesitant to dive into this, to dive into artificial intelligence, but now my company's ready, they're ready to make that plunge, how would you suggest we get started? And I'm going to ask you this question as both an AI enthusiast and an AI consultant.
Okay. I mean, again, I think that educating people on sort of the distinction between just going out to ChatGPT, which is public and widely available, and as Claudio was saying, like, there isn't really a security layer there, versus using it from within Salesforce, you're sort of bound by your data, by your model, and if you're grounding your data properly, then you've actually got kind of the guardrails that you need to make sure that A, it doesn't get out, and B, bad stuff doesn't get in. And so you're sort of saying, I mean, I get that the whole world is my LLM, right? I'm going to learn everything I can from out here, but here in my company, my safe space, I can train my AI to do just things from within here, using its generic knowledge from the world, but specifically about the data from my org. And you start to narrow things down and keep it from being a little bit like a little bit hallucinatory, because you can verify whether or not it's using accurate data or not. I don't know if I answered that from the company standpoint or a consultant standpoint. That might have been both. I'm not sure. You tell me.
No, that's well, and then you talked about, I think you were starting to get into this safe space and sort of,
Yeah.
I really, and maybe I'll ask you this and then we'll go to Claudio, practical examples, right? I mean, you were kind of maybe given a high level, but what are some practical examples of either where you're seeing this make a difference today or where you think it's going to make a difference with some of your clients?
Yeah, well, I mean, I actually, a talk that I've given at a lot of community conferences this last year about a case study where I actually went out and we built some GPTs so that there's a slightly, there's a little more layer of trust. You're not necessarily in the broad LLM, but you're kind of using a little bit of a privacy model because it's your own private GPT. And we used that to ingest 20 hours worth of workshop data so that I could then write my user stories, because I had a BA that wasn't quite working well. And I was panicking because how do I service this client? How do I meet my deliverables and also write a bunch of user stories? So I was transparent with my customer. That's the first important thing, right? You have to say, is it okay if I do this? And know that I'm going to mask everything. We took out every company name, every person's name from the transcripts. So there's some manual cleaning where we go through and make sure that we're not introducing anything out that could potentially get out, even though we're in our own private LLM, just to be safe, or GPT, I should say. So we took care of that, and then we fed everything in, and we got like 600 user stories. We deduped, and then and here's the human in loop part, right? I'm a CPQ expert. I still had to go through all of those stories and validate that, is this specifically from the conference or from the workshops that we were having, or is this just generic CPQ knowledge? Like, I want to be able to quote my customer. Yeah, I know, it's a CPQ. We get, what a Q stands for. I eliminate that, right? So I still have to be the human in the loop, not just like making sure it's not a total hallucination and validating that it's coming from the transcripts, but also to weed out the stuff that's unnecessary. So I took those 600 down to like about 275, 300, and they were good, valid stories. But the BA who sat in the sessions for 20 hours and then spent 20 more hours to come up with 30 as a user I want. I'm like, oh my God. I got, from the transcripts that we already had, I was able to kind of go back, pull those in, and get all that information. So huge change. Oh, and it took, we spent 10 hours doing that. So the use case it proves out is that, I don't need somebody to sit for 20 hours and then try to write 20 more hours of useless stories. I can take the transcripts I'm already going to have, feed them in, validate them, and spend a quarter of the time, maybe half the time. It's still a cost savings, a time savings, and I got more and more quality information out of it than I got from my human. So there's a partnership here. It's not, you can't just hand it over and then just turn those into the customer. That's not going to work, right? You've still got to be human in the loop, but it was a game changer for us. So and now I get to talk about it all over the world. So.
Claudio, what about you? Maybe same question. Practical example of where you've seen an AI application make a difference, either within Salesforce or maybe within some of your customers.
So I think if you saw the keynote, right? We all saw the keynote from Mark, where he presented a SaaS user story, right? And that's amazing.
Yeah. That's
Look at the impact there, and it's not impact on a one-on-one, but it's a business level with all the customers. That is, I think, one area that all business should look for. When I think about AI, if you want to try it and you want to see the impact, I like what you said. Try it small, identify a very specific use case, measure the impact, and then expand it. But one area that all business, they can start soon and quickly is the customer service.
Yeah.
Right? So having someone that can help your business serve better your customers, it's easy because you can measure, and the measures are clear. The outcomes and feedbacks from your customers are going to be very clear and simple as well. Yes, it did work, did not work. You can measure safety, you can measure trust. It's just so many that is an easy spot for you to look at it and just apply to it.
So I'll come back to you too, if it's okay, Claudio. You talked about safety, you talked about trust. But again, people are sort of worried, so maybe the next couple questions will be a little bit, I don't want to say on the dark side, but just a little bit about the consequences. So is AI developing too fast for society to keep up with Claudio, and could this lead to dangerous consequences?
Any new technology that it's building up, you are always trying something new. You can envision the outcomes, you cannot limit the outcomes. Not different with AI. Of course, everybody's talking about all the things that are possible, but yes, if you don't have protections, if you don't have guardrails, if you don't have laws around all those things, yes, they can be bad for society, not for your business only. It's everybody that's going to use and be impacted by it, right? I go back to the time when SaaS was coming up and the Salesforce was the first one with the CRM on the cloud, and I remember talking to business and business thinking, I'm going to give my information
to the internet.
To the internet, and they're going to do what? Right? So AI is no different. You are exchanging information. Information is the most critical piece that a business can hold because it's customers, it's products, it's revenue. So see, you impact your customers, you impact money with the revenue, you impact everything, society. So yes, there are dangerous things, but I think we are doing a good job so far, to be honest with you, right? When you look at all the companies, all the LLMs, when you look at Salesforce, we all trying to do what is right, and that is the important thing. When you look at all the laws that may be in talks right now, or may be coming, or may be in place, they always look into how to safeguard and put guardrails around AI and the data. So we are doing the job that we should be doing.
Janeen, maybe talk about the guardrails a little bit, and just that the growing concerns about AI privacy and ethical use. Like, how should companies be sort of navigating, I guess, that line between, sort of innovation and then really, really respecting customer privacy?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think transparency, trust, I think you've got to really understand what are my use cases? How can I make use of this? How can I ease people into it, right?
Yeah.
The reality is we've all been using some level of AI for a very, very long time in things like customer service. It may not be as intelligent as what we're doing now, but people are used to interacting with phone trees or bots and things like that are just a different step. So like baby steps to a certain degree, and ease people into the concept and let them know what is and isn't happening with their data so they can feel safe. I mean, a small example is, as we built out this use case earlier this year, and as things have changed so rapidly this year, in some ways I'm waiting for, can I now build what I just did on Einstein? And I've actually even talked to the team and said, can I do this yet? And it's like, not quite. Maybe now, I don't know. But it's something that I want to do. If I can build in that functionality in a way that I can use it inside of my customer's org, then it's not going anywhere, and that's an additional layer of trust. So transparency and trust, and small steps.
I like it.
Yeah.
The nice soft question for you here, Claudio. So will AI pose a threat to human jobs, or will it ultimately create more opportunities than it takes away?
Very good question. So I was hosting a meeting with architects last year, just to give some context. Last year. And we are talking about all the things that are coming. And one of the architects leading one of the top partners came to me and said, Claudio, what do you think about architects? So what's going to happen with us? I said, look, it's just a new technology.
Yeah.
You've been in this space forever.
Yeah.
You just needed to learn and adapt and transform your job. So a transformation is not isolated to technology. A transformation impacts society, impacts people, right? So what I think is, it's gonna trap the jobs. No, it is not. It is gonna change the jobs and open new opportunities. We need people that understand and know how to do change management, for example, right? That's needed. We need people that, and that's not technology, that's people. So different areas, but it's still a lot of jobs coming. I don't think that's going to be a problem. It's just people. One thing is, we always needed to be learning. That's it.
So last question for the group, and we'll stick to the future-looking predictive stuff here. Claudio, I'll ask you this first. I'll stay with you first. Give me a bold prediction. 1 year from now, where are we when it comes to artificial intelligence?
It's going to be everywhere, and
will cars be driving themselves?
Cars, exactly.
Wait.
Exactly, right?
I think we might already have that. Yeah.
So you all saw iOS is going to have what? AI in it.
Yeah.
It's coming. We all have phones, so it's going to be everywhere. You're going to use it as you use any other technology today. That's what it is. So businesses are going to be using. We as humans, we're going to be using. AI is going to use AI, meaning AI is going to talk to another AI model, whatever it is, but they're going to be exchanging information. It's going to be everywhere.
And Janeen, last question for me anyway. Anything to add there? Do you disagree with Claudio? Or?
I don't think I can disagree, and he probably knows a lot more about where we're going than I do. But I do think that the key is helping people get comfortable with it.
Yes.
Because I think that the technology itself is going to keep going, and people like us who are enthusiastic about it are going to keep pushing the limits of what it can do.
Yep.
And we just have to make sure that we bring up the folks who are a little bit lagging behind, so that they're not so far behind it becomes a roadblock to progress.
Yes.
And so we just need to make sure that, are we training folks? Are we getting them comfortable with the idea? Are we explaining to them what's happening? So that, the head can keep going and the tail can follow, as opposed to the tail dropping off, right? Like, everyone's got to come along, or we're going to have real problems. And I think, wasn't there a movie about some sort of clone wars or some AI wars or something? Really have to be careful.
Yes.
And make sure that we're all in the same page about where we're going.
Thanks to everyone for coming, for joining, and we hope you all have a great rest of the day. Thanks to our presenters.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.